Hi everyone, this is Emily Duplessis with Rental Rookie. On today's video, we're going to take a look at tenant applications and talk specifically about what you should look for whenever you are deciding and working on coming up with or buying or finding a rental application that you will be giving to potential tenants. When you show a property, now again, if you are hiring property management, or having some people come in and take care of that stuff for you, then this really kind of won't apply to you because property management is going to take care of all of that. But if you, as a newbie investor, are trying to handle everything on your own because you want to keep as much money coming into your pocket as possible, one of the ways that we do that is by handling kind of the property management details on our own. So if that's the case, then this video is going to be very important because today I'm going to walk step by step through the application that we use, my husband and I use, whenever we are screening tenants, whenever we're having tenants apply. We give them this application whenever we see them, whenever we meet with them, whenever we show a property. They fill it out, they get it back to us, and then we go about our business and do what we need to do with the application, which I will talk to you about today. So first off, to get started, we actually download our applications and our leases and all of those things off of LegalZoom. We have found that we really like the paperwork that they have in their system, and it's really nice because you actually only pay like a monthly fee. I think it's less than $10. It's been a while since I've gone on and checked, and you get access to all sorts of legal documents that you're able to download and use to your prerogative. And so we use LegalZoom solely when it comes to leases, when it comes to applications, when it comes to any kind of security deposit receipts or things like that. I'm sure if we would ever have to deal with an eviction down the road, we would absolutely use LegalZoom as well. And so today I'm going to walk you through the application that we use, why we like it, and then what we do with the various parts of the application whenever a potential tenant gives it to us. So within this document, you can see up here there's 36 pages of information that you get whenever you download this document. I'm only going to be going through a portion of those 36 pages today. So starting off with our application, residential rental application. Okay, you can see here we start off with just the basic information, right? Name, social security number, phone number, driver's license number, those sorts of things. It's pretty basic. You're going to find that across any type of application that you're going to be using. Additional applicants in the sense of if there's going to be more than one person that is going to be occupying the property, you're going to want their information as well. For instance, in our first rental property that we had that was a condo, we rented it out to two friends, two guys who were living together. And so obviously the person who was going to be kind of the primary contact person filled out the top part, and then the roommate, the buddy, filled out this part where we got his information. Rental history. You want them to put down where they're currently living. Make sure that they're putting down the name of owner. Make sure that they're putting down the contact information. You want to make sure that that's in there because that's going to be very important whenever you're actually following up on this information to find out what type of tenants they are. So you're going to have their current address. If they've lived anywhere previously, this totally depends on, the demographic of your potential tenant. Is it somebody that's just moving out of their home? Is it somebody who, is middle-aged and has lived in a variety of places? So this could be maybe, if this is somebody who's never lived anywhere but home, they're only really going to have, there's not going to be much rental history for you to be able to contact. Yeah, you can contact mom and dad and say, oh, how was your child? In terms of living at home, were they messy? But in terms of paying rent and those sorts of things, you can't really get information on that. But when it comes to, most of the probably pool of tenants that you're going to be choosing from, most of them are probably going to have rental history. And so you're going to want to make sure that they fill this out. And you're going to want to make sure that you follow up on it. The screening process, whenever you're going through this and screening your tenants, it can be very tedious and it can be very nitty-gritty and it can be very frustrating and annoying. And while you're doing it, you can be like, why am I doing this? They look good. They gave me a good first impression. But I can't tell you enough how important it is to actually follow through with the information that they give you on this application. That is going to save a ton of future headaches. First impressions, yes, I agree. I do think that you can get a good feel for somebody on a first impression, but I also know that I know people myself that I had a great first impression with them, and these weren't tenants, but just people that I know, and then come to find out later way more about them, and that first impression that I first had doesn't square up or add up to the person that I know them to be. So yes, first impressions are important, but getting this information and following through and contacting the people, the managers or the property owners of where these people lived before is going to provide you with a ton of information that's going to be very beneficial for you. Employment information. Right? You absolutely have a right to know where they are working, if they are working right now, where they're working, what they're making. As a tenant, they need to be able to provide you with financial backing to say that, yes, I'm going to be able to afford to live in your property. Renting, my husband and I view renting very similar to buying. We take it very seriously. And a lot of the steps that somebody has to go through in order to buy a property, we really kind of apply here. So they need to give us current employer information. They need to give us contact information. And then again, I can't tell you enough how important it is to follow through and actually contact their employers. Funny story. We just a couple of months ago were going through this process of screening tenants and showing a property. We had tenants move out in a condo that we have. And so we were going through this process, had them fill out the application. The guy seemed, pretty great whenever we met him. Nice, good first impression. Seemed to have a good job, was presentable, drove a nice car. We always kind of take a look at those things. How do they present themselves? What kind of car do they drive? All those little pieces of information can kind of add up for you. When we went and actually called the employer went on to say, we don't really get along. We kind of butt heads. I'm actually planning on firing him in, the next couple of weeks. Whenever we made that phone call saved us, because here we would have went, had we not followed through with the information, here we would have went and potentially rented it to this person who would have lost their job in 2 weeks, and then how would they have been able to afford their rent, And so the employer even said, please, I'm only telling you this because I don't want you to get screwed, and so I'm sharing this information with you. Please don't, let it on to this person that this is going to happen. But we really respected that employer for being straight up and honest with us, and a lot of times you're going to find that. So following through, that tenants aren't just filling this information out just for the heck of it. You have to take the initiative and follow through. Banking information. They're going to be sending you or depositing, however you go about collecting rent, they're going to be doing that monthly. And so another thing for you to do is to get their banking information. Find out, what type of accounts they have, where that money is going to be coming from. Is it going to be coming from a checking account? Are they going to be sending you money orders? Are they going to be sending you certified checks? Find that information out ahead of time. You have a right to know that. Creditor information. All right. A lot of times I feel like when people look at this, they're probably going, why do I need to tell you all of my debt? Why is it your business? But again, we look at this very much like looking at how somebody qualifies to buy a home. And so whenever you're qualifying, whenever loan officers or mortgage planners are looking at your ability to qualify for a loan, you have to have a DTI or a debt to income ratio of 45%, meaning that all of your debt, all of your expenses, your debt, everything, whenever you add it all up, it cannot exceed 45% of your monthly income. Okay, so let's take a minute and talk about that. Let's say that you make, just for round numbers, $1,000. That's what you bring in, from wherever you work a month. Your expenses, your debt, your credit cards, your car payments, anything like that, child support, whatever it is, would not be able to exceed $450 in order to qualify for that DTI. All right. Now, again, we're not looking and we're not qualifying people to buy our properties, but we take that percentage into account whenever we're screening our tenants. Do we say that we adhere 100% to, well, if it's no matter what, if they're over 45%, no way? Not necessarily. If they're a little bit over 45%, we're not going to completely rule them out, but it is something to think about whenever you're screening your tenants. All of those bills add up, and who's to say that when push comes to shove and if something happens, someone loses their job, somehow they are losing income, or they have to pay, some sort of fee that comes up for them. Who's to say that your payment, your property, your income that should be coming to you every month isn't going to get pushed to the back burner because your tenant has to pay all of these other bills? So you have a right to know all the debt that they have and pay attention to, when you look at their debt to income, what is that percentage? And if push comes to shove and something happens, are they still going to be able to pay you if they have to? Vehicles, we also get their vehicle information. That's just kind of information that we keep in our pocket. If you have to go through a process of if they're not paying their rent or eviction or things like that, you could use the information for their vehicle and place a lien on their car if they're not going to pay you. And so, there are multiple things that you can do, but we just get that information so that we have it. Additional information in terms of, this is more the criminal background, right? Having them straight up say if they've ever been convicted of a felony, have they ever been asked to be evicted, rental payments, those sorts of things. So this is all information that, again, you have a right to know, and you can follow up on that information with your tenant or with, previous owners or previous property managers or anything like that, to give you more information about the person that you're going to be renting to. And then credit and personal references. Again, always good to have them put down some people that they know. Now, obviously, they're going to put down people who they believe are going to give them a good referral or a good recommendation, and that's fine. But it, again, just gives you some more information about that person. So whenever you call, you can just get a general feel for who they are, what they're like, what their past is like. And again, this application gives you little pieces or little golden nuggets about a person that you can put together in the end and say, you know what, yes, I think this is going to be the right person for our property, or, heck no, we need to run. There's no way that we're going to rent it to this person. Emergency contact, and then going on to have them sign acknowledging that everything in here is truthful and honest. All right. The last thing that I'm going to talk about is the consent to background and credit investigation. Like I've said before, we manage our own properties at this point. We like to keep as much of the cash flow in our pocket as possible, and so we're still managing our properties. And so we also do background and credit investigation checks. And so they sign here saying that they allow us to do that. We take a look at their credit, we see if it kind of matches up with what information they put on their application. That again gives us a little bit more information about their previous history. Are they able to pay on time? Are they always paying late? Those sorts of things play into whether or not we're going to allow a tenant to occupy our property. And we also look at background, criminal background. Not that long ago, actually, it was with this same condo that we were going to rent a couple of months ago. And actually, now that I think about it, it may have been the same guy who was going to be fired from his job. Whenever we went on to check the criminal background, we found out that there was a long list of issues or problems that he has had in the past about larceny and stealing and all sorts of things. And so when we saw that, we were like, that is a huge red flag for us. We immediately were saying, no way, there's no way that we want to have to even go down that road with anybody. So again, I feel like I've been, in a sense, rambling about all of these sorts of things that you need to check, but when push comes to shove, if you go through and you're diligent about making sure that you're screening your tenants, it's going to pay off. I can tell you right now that the people that we've had in our properties, we haven't had to have any issues. The only issues that we've dealt with are here and there, little, managing or issues with the properties themselves, something leaking or an issue with the dryer or something like that. We've had no issues with the tenants at all. We've had great tenants. They pay on time. And I credit a lot of that to this whole idea of going through and making sure that we're screening our tenants. I can't explain to you enough how important it is. So what I will be doing is on the blog post that I'm going to be posting this video on, I will have a link to LegalZoom there. You can click that and that can take you to LegalZoom if you're interested in getting or downloading or signing up for the access to these legal documents. Like I said, we use LegalZoom. We really like them. On another video, I'm going to actually be taking you through one of the leases that we have put together. And the thing that I like about that is you can go in and you can personalize the lease itself right on LegalZoom and print it out, and everything is there typed and everything's neat and tidy, which is really nice. And so they'll be on the lookout for a video that will be coming soon related to the contracts as well. So I hope you enjoyed this video on tenant screening and applications, and happy investing.